Welcome back to RoboCast, the show where we kind of dive deep into fascinating topics and try to answer those burning questions, the ones that keep us humans up at night.
That's right.
You're tuning in to the Daniel David Allen YouTube channel, the hub for all things curiosity-driven.
And that's us.
I'm your host, the AI program to, guide you through this maze of information.
I'm the expert.
And with me today is, our expert, ready to bring some order to all this chaos.
Happy to be here.
So, today's deep dive takes us right into the heart of American politics.
Oh, this is a good one.
We're talking about Vice President Kamala Harris.
Lots to talk about there.
Now, there's been a lot of buzz, speculation, even some criticism about her role over the past 4 years.
Definitely heard a lot about it.
What has she actually been up to? We've dug through reports, articles, and all sorts of data.
Some pretty surprising stuff, too.
To uncover some surprising facts and accomplishments that might just challenge some preconceived notions.
You might be surprised by some of this.
And to make this exploration a bit more engaging, we've decided to, present our findings as a top 10 countdown.
Should be fun.
Think of it as a journey through the highlights of Vice President Harris's time in office, with a few unexpected twists and turns along the way.
A few twists, yeah.
Plus, we've got a bit of a mystery for you.
Oh, yeah.
Got a curious fact that we'll reveal at the end of our countdown. It might just make you rethink everything you thought you knew about Vice President Harris's role. But we won't spoil the surprise just yet.
Not yet.
All right, let's kick off this countdown with number 10, a fact that highlights Vice President Harris's pivotal role in the Senate. Ready for this? She holds the record for most tie-breaking votes cast by a VP in Senate history.
That's a big one. It's not just a random trivia fact, though. A closely divided Senate means every single vote carries immense weight. And there she was, time and time again, casting the deciding vote, shaking the course of legislation.
It really underscores the power and influence that comes with the position, doesn't it? Not just about presiding over the Senate, but actually wielding that deciding power in moments of gridlock. It speaks to her ability to navigate a complex political landscape and get things done in a highly partisan environment.
That's right. And speaking of getting things done, our number 9 entry takes us into the realm of economic impact, something that affects so many of us. We're talking about Vice President Harris's role in securing a staggering $450 billion in relief for 6 million small businesses. Imagine the impact this had, especially during the tumultuous period of the pandemic.
It's mind-boggling, isn't it? We all remember the uncertainty, the closures, the fear that gripped the nation. This level of support wasn't just about numbers on a balance sheet. It was about livelihoods saved, communities supported, and the very fabric of our economy held together.
Absolutely. And it speaks to the administration's focus on supporting the backbone of the American economy, those small businesses that are so vital to our communities.
Now, for number 8, we're shifting gears to a topic that touches every single one of us: healthcare. And we've uncovered not just one, but a cluster of impactful actions spearheaded by Vice President Harris. It's a testament to her commitment to tackling this complex and often challenging issue.
It really is. It's fascinating how she's taken on a variety of healthcare challenges, from the very specific to the broader systemic issues. For instance, she led the White House effort to address the maternal health crisis, a silent but deadly issue that often doesn't get the attention it deserves.
And she didn't just talk about it, she pushed for tangible action.
Yeah.
We're talking about the creation of the first ever federal health and safety requirements for maternal emergency services in hospitals. That's a landmark achievement that has the potential to save countless lives.
For sure. And when you consider that she was also instrumental in extending postpartum Medicaid coverage to 12 months in many states, it paints a picture of someone deeply committed to supporting mothers and families during those critical early months.
It's not just about physical health either. She helped launch a national maternal mental health hotline, recognizing the often overlooked aspect of mental well-being for new mothers.
A holistic approach to healthcare, recognizing the interconnectedness of physical and mental health, and ensuring that support systems are in place for those who need it most. And all of this while tackling the ever-present challenge of sky-high drug prices. Which brings us to number 7 on our countdown.
Ah, yes, the battle against Big Pharma, a fight that resonates with so many of us who have felt the sting of those outrageous prescription costs.
Right. And this is where Vice President Harris's background as a prosecutor really comes into play. She has a history of taking on powerful interests, and she brought that same tenacity to the role of vice president. She was a key player in enabling Medicare to finally negotiate drug prices, a move that could save billions for taxpayers and seniors.
That's a game changer. Imagine the relief for seniors who are often forced to choose between life-saving medications and basic necessities.
Exactly. And her advocacy didn't stop there. She's been a vocal supporter of capping insulin costs for seniors, recognizing that access to this life-saving medication shouldn't be a financial burden.
It's about bringing fairness and compassion to a system that often feels rigged against the average person. And now, for number 6, we're stepping into a topic that's been at the forefront of national debate.
Reproductive rights.
A sensitive and important issue for sure, and one that Vice President Harris has been a staunch defender of. We saw her unwavering commitment to reproductive rights during the Supreme Court confirmation hearings. Her voice on this issue was clear and strong, reminding us of what's at stake.
And her actions went beyond words. She led a national tour focused on reproductive freedom, bringing the conversation to communities across the country and engaging in a dialogue that's often overshadowed by heated rhetoric.
And let's not forget the historical significance of her visit to a reproductive health clinic, the first vice president to do so. It was a powerful statement of solidarity and support for women's healthcare choices. It's about more than just policy. It's about sending a message that women's healthcare matters, that their choices are valid, and that they deserve access to safe and affordable reproductive healthcare services.
Absolutely. And now for number 5, we turn our attention to an issue that affects us all, regardless of political affiliation or geographic location, the health of our planet.
Ah, yes, the fight against climate change, a challenge that requires global cooperation and bold action. And Vice President Harris has been a key player in pushing for progress on this front.
It's remarkable how she's been able to weave climate action into so many aspects of her work. She played a crucial role in securing a massive $370 billion in investments to combat climate change and expand clean energy. This kind of investment is vital for developing new technologies, creating green jobs, and transitioning to a more sustainable future.
And let's not forget her role in passing the Inflation Reduction Act, a landmark piece of legislation that includes significant climate provisions. It's a testament to her ability to navigate complex policy discussions and build consensus around solutions that benefit both the environment and the economy.
It's a reminder that tackling climate change isn't just about feel-good initiatives. It's about creating tangible change through legislation, investment, and a commitment to a cleaner, healthier future for all of us.
Now, for number 4, we're diving into a topic that's close to the hearts of many Americans: economic justice. This is where we see Vice President Harris's efforts to level the playing field and create opportunities for those who have been historically marginalized or left behind.
Right. It's about recognizing that economic progress shouldn't just benefit the wealthy or the well-connected. It's about ensuring that everyone has a fair shot at success, regardless of their background or zip code. And Vice President Harris has consistently championed policies and initiatives aimed at achieving just that.
For instance, she secured a $20 billion settlement for homeowners during the foreclosure crisis, a lifeline for families struggling to keep a roof over their heads.
That was huge. And her efforts to crack down on for-profit colleges engaged in predatory practices protected countless students from being saddled with debt and worthless degrees.
It's about holding powerful institutions accountable and ensuring that they don't exploit vulnerable individuals for profit. And her advocacy for economic justice extends beyond these specific examples. She's been a vocal supporter of fair wages, worker protections, and policies aimed at closing the racial wealth gap.
Let's not forget her work on student loan forgiveness for mental health professionals, a move that not only helps those individuals, but also strengthens our mental health care system.
It's about recognizing the value of these professions and making sure that those who dedicate their lives to helping others aren't burdened by crushing debt.
Her efforts to remove medical debt from credit reports and protect seniors from financial abuse further demonstrate her commitment to creating a more just and equitable economic system. It's about recognizing that financial stability is essential for individual well-being and that everyone deserves a chance to thrive, not just survive.
Okay, we're moving into the top 3 now, and this next one is particularly relevant in today's world: gun safety. It's a complex issue that evokes strong emotions on all sides, but one that Vice President Harris has been deeply engaged in.
Absolutely. It's an issue that demands thoughtful leadership and a willingness to take on tough challenges. And we see that in Vice President Harris's work. She oversees the first ever White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention, a clear signal that the administration is taking this issue seriously and prioritizing action over rhetoric.
It's about moving beyond the political gridlock and actually doing something to address the epidemic of gun violence that plagues our nation. And her actions speak louder than words. She's taking concrete steps to prevent gun sales to domestic abusers, a crucial measure to protect vulnerable individuals.
For sure. Her work to close loopholes in background checks and her support for red flag laws demonstrate a commitment to exploring a range of solutions aimed at reducing gun violence and keeping our communities safe. Red flag laws, for those unfamiliar, allow for the temporary removal of firearms from individuals deemed a danger to themselves or others. It's a controversial measure, but one that has proven effective in preventing tragedies.
It's about finding a balance between protecting individual rights and ensuring the safety of our communities, a delicate task that requires careful consideration and a commitment to evidence-based solutions. Now, for number 2 on our countdown, we're taking a look at Vice President Harris's role on the global stage. We're talking about global diplomacy, the art of building relationships, navigating complex geopolitical challenges, and projecting American influence in a rapidly changing world.
Right, it's a role that requires a unique blend of skills, diplomatic finesse, cultural sensitivity, and a deep understanding of international affairs. And Vice President Harris has brought all of those qualities to the table. She's met with over 150 world leaders, representing the United States on a global stage and building bridges with key players across the globe.
It's about more than just photo ops and handshakes, though. It's about building trust, fostering cooperation, and finding common ground on issues that transcend national borders. Her experience on the Senate Intelligence Committee has given her valuable insights into global security issues, allowing her to engage in high-level discussions with a depth of knowledge that's essential in today's complex world.
Definitely, and her ability to connect with people on a personal level, to build rapport and find common ground, has been invaluable in her diplomatic efforts. It's about representing America with grace, intelligence, and a commitment to finding solutions that benefit not just the United States, but the global community as a whole.
And finally, we've arrived at the top spot on our countdown. It's a testament to Vice President Harris's impact on the American justice system, her unwavering pursuit of fairness, and her commitment to breaking down barriers. We're talking about her role as a judicial trailblazer.
A role that's deeply intertwined with her personal history, her experiences as a prosecutor, and her unwavering belief in the power of the law to create a more just and equitable society. Her journey began in California, where she oversaw the largest state justice department in the country, prosecuting transnational gangs, drug cartels, and human traffickers. It was a role that demanded toughness, integrity, and a commitment to protecting vulnerable communities.
And that commitment to justice didn't end when she stepped onto the national stage. In fact, it became even more pronounced. She played a crucial role in confirming Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, the first Black woman on the Supreme Court. It was a historic moment, a testament to the progress we've made as a nation, and a powerful symbol of hope for future generations.
A powerful moment. And it's about more than just representation, though. It's about bringing diverse perspective and lived experiences to the highest court in the land, ensuring that the law reflects the realities of all Americans.
And her impact on the justice system extends beyond the Supreme Court. She officiated some of the nation's first same-sex marriages, a testament to her unwavering belief in equality and her commitment to fighting for the rights of all Americans.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that justice is not a static concept, but a constantly evolving ideal that we must strive to achieve for everyone. And Vice President Harris has been a tireless champion for that ideal, pushing for reforms, advocating for the marginalized, and using her platform to ensure that the scales of justice are balanced for all.
Now, before we move on to our mystery reveal, let's take a moment to reflect. What stands out to you from this top 10 countdown?
It's striking how much Vice President Harris has accomplished in such a short time. From championing healthcare reform to tackling climate change, from fighting for economic justice to breaking barriers on a global stage. It's a record that speaks volumes about her dedication, her work ethic, and her unwavering commitment to serving the American people.
I completely agree. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day news cycle, the political back and forth, but when you step back and look at the bigger picture, it's clear that she's been a driving force for progress on a wide range of issues. But now, as promised, it's time to unveil that mystery fact we hinted at earlier, something we uncovered that might just challenge your assumptions about Vice President Harris's role. Ready for this?
I'm ready. Let's hear it.
Okay, here it is. Despite her focus on immigration issues and criticism from some, Vice President Harris has never visited the U.S.-Mexico border in an official capacity.
Wow. That is unexpected, especially given how much attention has been focused on border policy and the political debates surrounding immigration.
I know, right? It seems counterintuitive, but according to all the information we've gathered, It's factually accurate.
This raises so many questions. What might explain this seemingly contradictory fact? Yeah, that border mystery certainly throws a wrench into our assumptions, doesn't it? It seems like there's always more to uncover beneath the surface of things.
It does. It's a good reminder that leadership operates on multiple levels, from symbolic gestures to, well, to behind-the-scenes strategizing.
That's true.
But let's not get too sidetracked by that border puzzle just yet. We've got more ground to cover in our top 10 countdown of Vice President Harris's accomplishments.
We do.
And speaking of complex issues, number 9 takes us right into the heart of the immigration debate.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically, we're looking at the Biden administration's efforts to limit immigration at the southern border.
A hot topic.
This is where things get really nuanced, right? It's not just about slogans or sound bites.
Right.
It's about grappling with real-world challenges, balancing security concerns with humanitarian considerations.
Oh.
The Biden-Harris administration implemented an executive order, I think it was back in June, aimed at reducing the flow of migrants across the southern border.
Yeah.
This order narrowed access to asylum and expedited the removal of those deemed ineligible to enter the U.S.
Right.
It was a response to a complex situation.
Definitely.
Reports indicate that over the past 4 years, there have been, get this, over 8 million encounters recorded at the border.
Wow.
A truly staggering number.
That's a lot.
That speaks to the scale of the challenge.
For sure.
This influx, coupled with a growing backlog of asylum cases in the court system, created a sense of urgency for the administration to act, to do something.
Yeah.
So it was a confluence of factors that led to this policy shift.
I see.
A desire to
Regain control.
regain control of the border, address the practical challenges of processing such a large number of migrants, and respond to political pressures surrounding the issue.
Yeah, makes sense.
And it seems the executive order did have some impact, at least in the short term.
Yep.
Encounters with U.S. Border Patrol dropped significantly in July, reaching their lowest point under the Biden administration.
Interesting.
But as with any policy that deals with such a complex issue, there are differing perspectives on its effectiveness and its long-term implications.
Sure. Different sides to every story.
Critics of the executive order argue that it essentially restricts access to asylum,
Okay.
potentially violating the rights of those seeking refuge in the U.S.
I can see that.
They see it as a move away from humanitarian principles and a prioritization of security over compassion.
That's a tough one, balancing those two things.
It's a valid concern,
Yeah.
highlighting the ethical dilemmas inherent in immigration policy.
Definitely.
How do we balance the need for border security with the moral imperative to protect those fleeing persecution or seeking a better life?
It's a question that societies have grappled with for centuries,
It really is.
and there are no easy answers.
There's no easy answers, right?
But supporters of the executive order, they argue that it was a necessary step to address a real crisis at the border, one that was overwhelming resources and creating unsustainable conditions for both migrants and border communities.
Okay, I see the point.
They point to the need for a more orderly and manageable immigration system, one that allows for the processing of asylum claims while also deterring those who are seeking to enter the country illegally.
Right.
It's about finding a balance between compassion and pragmatism.
Pragmatism, yeah.
Recognizing the complexities of the issue and the need for solutions that address both the humanitarian and the logistical aspects of immigration.
It's a tough balancing act.
It is.
And in the midst of this debate, Vice President Harris has been tasked with addressing the root causes of migration from Central American countries.
Okay, so tackling the problem at its source.
Yeah, it's a long-term strategy.
Long term, for sure.
Requires diplomacy, aid, and cooperation with foreign governments.
It's a lot of moving parts.
It's about tackling the push factors that drive people to leave their homes in the first place. Violence, poverty, lack of opportunity.
The things that make people desperate enough to leave everything behind.
Exactly.
And it's a recognition that simply strengthening border security is not enough.
Right. It's a much bigger issue.
We need to address the underlying issues that create the conditions for mass migration.
And she's made some progress on this front.
Okay, that's good.
Experts have praised her efforts to secure private sector investments in Central America, aimed at creating jobs and improving economic conditions in the region.
So trying to give people a reason to stay.
Exactly. It's a proactive approach.
Yeah.
Attempting to create opportunities in the countries of origin so people don't feel forced to make the perilous journey north.
Makes sense.
But as with any complex issue, there are critics who argue that these efforts haven't been sufficient to stem the tide of migration.
I can see that.
They point to the ongoing violence, poverty, and instability in Central America as evidence that more needs to be done and more quickly.
Yeah, it's a long road.
It's a reminder that these problems are deeply entrenched
For sure.
and resistant to easy solutions.
Absolutely.
They require sustained effort, a long-term commitment, and a willingness to adapt strategies as needed.
It's a constantly evolving situation.
And speaking of complex issues, our number 8 entry takes us into the realm of crime and public safety, a topic that often dominates headlines and fuels anxieties.
Crime is always a big concern.
It's an area where perceptions often clash with reality, where fear can easily overshadow facts.
People get scared.
And we've certainly seen that play out in recent years, with the U.S. experiencing a concerning surge in violent crime, particularly homicides, during the early years of the Biden administration.
I remember that.
Remember, this was in the wake of a perfect storm of events.
Oh, yeah.
The pandemic, social unrest, and economic uncertainty.
A lot going on.
It was a volatile period.
For sure.
That put a strain on communities across the country and led to an increase in crime rates in many areas.
It was a tough time for everyone.
It was a challenging time for law enforcement agencies across the country.
Right.
As they grappled with rising crime rates, staffing shortages, and increased scrutiny of their tactics.
It was a lot to handle.
But here's where the data gets interesting. Recent reports indicate that violent crime rates, including homicides, have actually been declining since late 2021.
Oh, really? That's good news.
This trend has continued into the current year, with some cities reporting significant drops in murder rates.
That's encouraging.
So the question becomes, what role, if any, did the Biden-Harris administration play in this decline in violent crime?
It's hard to say for sure.
It's a complex question with no easy answers.
Crime rates are influenced by so many factors.
They really are, from social and economic conditions to law enforcement strategies and community engagement efforts.
Yeah, it's a whole web of interconnected things.
It's impossible to isolate any single factor as the definitive cause for a rise or fall in crime.
You can't just point to one thing.
However, it is worth noting that President Biden has been a vocal opponent of the defund the police movement, which gained traction in some circles following the murder of George Floyd.
Yeah, that was a big debate.
He's consistently advocated for increased funding for law enforcement agencies,
Okay.
arguing that adequately resourced police departments are essential for maintaining public safety.
That's one side of the argument.
His 2021 stimulus package included substantial aid to state and local governments, much of which was earmarked for public safety initiatives.
Interesting.
And Vice President Harris, despite some earlier expressions of support for police reform, has largely aligned herself with the administration's emphasis on traditional law enforcement approaches.
So they're taking a more traditional approach to law enforcement.
It seems so.
Her background as a prosecutor probably informs her perspective on criminal justice issues. Having worked within the system, she understands the complexities of law enforcement and the challenges faced by police officers on the ground.
Now, it's important to acknowledge that attributing crime rate fluctuations solely to presidential policies is overly simplistic.
Oh, yeah, it's much more complicated than that.
As we mentioned earlier, countless social, economic, and demographic factors contribute to crime trends.
It's a whole societal issue.
Crime is a multifaceted issue with deep roots in societal inequalities, poverty, lack of opportunity, and systemic biases.
It's about more than just policies.
But it is still relevant to examine how different administrations prioritize and address crime, and what impact, if any, their policies have on crime trends.
So looking at the big picture.
Yeah, in this case, it seems the Biden-Harris administration's approach has been characterized by a rejection of the defund the police movement, a focus on increased funding for law enforcement, and a generally tough stance on crime.
Okay, so a more law and order approach.
And while it's difficult to draw a direct causal link between these policies and the recent decline in violent crime, it's certainly a point of discussion and debate among experts and policymakers.
Yeah, it's something that people are still trying to figure out.
It's a reminder that even amidst complex societal challenges, leadership choices and policy decisions can have a tangible impact on people's lives.
That's for sure.
And speaking of tangible impacts, our number 7 entry takes us straight into the heart of economic reality, inflation.
Ugh, inflation, everyone's favorite topic.
Ah, yes, the silent thief that erodes purchasing power and fuels anxieties.
It's a real problem.
It's an issue that has plagued economies throughout history, and the Biden-Harris administration has been grappling with it since day one.
Since they took office.
We all remember those early days of their term, soaring prices for everything from gas to groceries, supply chain disruptions causing shortages and delays, and a general sense of economic uncertainty.
Yeah, it was a rough start.
It was a challenging time for many Americans, and it led to a lot of finger pointing and blame shifting.
People were looking for someone to blame.
It's easy to fall into the trap of attributing complex economic phenomena to singular causes, especially when those causes align with pre-existing political narratives.
People see what they want to see.
But the reality is that inflation is rarely caused by a single factor.
It's usually a combination of things.
It's usually a confluence of events, both domestic and global, that creates upward pressure on prices.
Yeah, that's complicated.
In this case, the inflationary surge was driven by a combination of factors. The lingering effects of the pandemic, supply chain bottlenecks, increased consumer demand fueled by government stimulus, and perhaps even some overzealous spending.
So a lot of factors all coming together at the same time.
It was a perfect storm of economic pressures that proved difficult to control. And it led to a lot of criticism directed at the administration, with opponents accusing them of mishandling the economy and fueling inflation through their policies.
That's politics for you.
But let's look at the data.
Okay.
Recent reports indicate that inflation has been steadily declining, with some measures approaching the Federal Reserve's target of 2%.
So things are getting better.
It seems so.
That's a good sign.
This suggests that the various measures taken by the administration, including efforts to ease supply chain bottlenecks and reduce government spending, may be having a positive effect.
So their policies are working.
It's hard to say for sure, but it's possible.
It's worth noting that the Federal Reserve's aggressive interest rate hikes have also played a role in cooling down the economy and curbing inflation.
Oh yeah, the Fed's actions have definitely had an impact.
The Fed's actions, while necessary to control inflation, have also raised concerns about a potential recession.
Yeah, it's a delicate balancing act.
It is.
Trying to tame inflation without triggering a downturn in the economy.
You don't want to go too far in either direction.
And for now, it seems the inflationary surge has peaked,
Okay.
offering some relief to consumers and businesses alike.
That's good to hear.
However, despite the recent slowdown in inflation, public perception remains somewhat negative.
People are still worried.
Many Americans still feel the pinch of higher prices for essential goods and services, and this economic anxiety has become a potent political issue.
It's hard to ignore when you're paying more for everything.
It's understandable that people are feeling apprehensive, especially given the volatility and uncertainty of recent years.
For sure.
Economic stability and predictability are crucial for individual and societal well-being, and when those things feel threatened, it can create a sense of anxiety and unease.
People need to feel secure.
And this is where the Biden-Harris administration faces a challenge. Convincing voters that they have a handle on the economy, that they are taking effective measures to address inflation, and that better days are ahead. It's a communication challenge as much as an economic one.
People need to hear a clear message.
People need to feel confident that their leaders understand their concerns and are working to address them.
And they need to see results.
They need to see tangible evidence that things are improving, that their hard-earned dollars are going further, and that their future economic prospects are secure.
That will give people hope.
And that's no easy feat in a world where economic forces are often global in nature and difficult to control.
It's a global economy.
But it's essential for any administration that wants to maintain public trust and confidence.
Trust is crucial.
Well said.
Thank you.
Now let's shift gears a bit and dive into number 6 on our countdown: job creation and wage growth.
Okay, jobs and wages, that's what people care about.
It's a topic that's close to the hearts of many Americans, as it directly impacts their livelihoods and their ability to provide for themselves and their families.
It's about putting food on the table.
It's the bread and butter of economic well-being, isn't it?
Yeah.
A strong job market and rising wages are key indicators of a healthy economy, and they create a sense of optimism and opportunity for individuals and communities.
Absolutely. When people have jobs and are making good money, they feel good about the future.
And in this area, the Biden-Harris administration boasts a fairly impressive track record.
Ooh.
Reports indicate that over 15 million jobs have been added to the economy since they took office in January 2021.
Wow, that's a big number.
That's a significant number.
It is.
Especially considering the economic challenges they faced early on.
Yeah, they came in at a tough time.
It's a testament to the resilience of the American economy and the effectiveness of some of the policies implemented by the administration.
So their policies are having a positive impact.
It seems so.
But what's driving this job growth? What sectors are seeing the most gains, and what policies have contributed to this positive trend?
Well, several factors are at play.
Okay.
One key driver has been the administration's focus on infrastructure investment.
Infrastructure, yeah.
Remember those massive spending bills we discussed earlier?
I mean,
those are starting to translate into real-world jobs in construction, transportation, and related industries.
So those investments are creating jobs.
They are.
It's fascinating to see how those policy decisions ripple through the economy.
It is.
Creating a multiplier effect that generates jobs not just in the directly targeted sectors, but also in supporting industries.
Exactly. It's a chain reaction.
And it's not just about infrastructure.
Right.
The administration's clean energy initiatives have also spurred job growth in renewable energy efficiency, and related fields.
Clean energy is a growing field.
As the world transitions to a more sustainable future, these sectors are poised for significant growth, and the Biden-Harris administration is positioning the United States to be a leader in this transition.
That's a smart move.
It's about creating a win-win scenario.
A win-win.
Addressing the urgent challenge of climate change while also generating economic opportunities and good-paying jobs.
Exactly. It's not just about saving the planet. It's about creating jobs.
And let's not forget the administration's support for domestic manufacturing.
Domestic manufacturing.
With initiatives like the GPS Act,
Yeah.
which incentivizes domestic production of semiconductors, are aimed at bringing manufacturing jobs back to the United States and reducing our reliance on foreign supply chains.
Bringing jobs back home.
It's a strategic move that recognizes the importance of a strong domestic manufacturing base for both economic security and national security.
Makes sense.
And it's creating jobs in a sector that has been hit hard by globalization and automation.
So those are some of the factors driving job growth.
Yeah.
However, while the overall picture of job growth is positive, it's important to acknowledge that the persistent challenge of inflation has tempered some of the gains.
Inflation is still a problem.
While wages have been rising.
Okay.
They haven't kept pace with the rising cost of living for many Americans.
So people aren't really feeling the benefits.
That's a crucial point.
It is.
Real wage growth, meaning wages adjusted for inflation, has been sluggish, leaving many workers feeling like they're treading water financially, despite the strong job market.
It's frustrating when your paycheck doesn't go as far as it used to.
It is. They may have a job, but they're not necessarily seeing their standard of living improve. Yeah, that's a problem.
It's a reminder that economic progress is not always evenly distributed.
Right.
And that even amidst overall growth, certain segments of the population can struggle to keep up.
The benefits don't always reach everyone.
The benefits of a strong economy don't always trickle down to everyone, and it's important for policymakers to address these disparities and ensure that everyone has a chance to share in the prosperity.
We need to make sure everyone is benefiting.
Well said.
Thanks.
And it's a challenge that the Biden-Harris administration will need to address if they want to maintain public confidence in their economic stewardship.
People need to see that the government is working for them.
People need to feel like they're sharing in the gains of a strong economy, not just watching from the sidelines as the wealthy get wealthier.
It's about fairness.
Now, shifting gears a bit, let's move on to number 5 on our countdown.
Okay.
An area where Vice President Harris has taken on a prominent role.
Right.
Global diplomacy. Global diplomacy, that's a big one.
It's a role that requires a unique blend of skills and a deep understanding of the complexities of international relations.
It's a tough job.
It's about representing the United States on the world stage, building alliances, navigating geopolitical challenges, and projecting American influence in a rapidly changing world.
Not much responsibility.
It's a high-stakes game that demands both strategic thinking and interpersonal finesse.
You need to be smart and charming.
And Vice President Harris has been actively engaged in this arena,
Okay.
drawing on her experience on the Senate Intelligence Committee and her natural diplomatic skills.
She's got the experience.
Reports indicate that she's met with over 150 world leaders during her time in office, a testament to her commitment to engaging with the global community and to building relationships with key players across the world.
That's a lot of meetings.
It's about more than just attending summits and shaking hands, though.
It's about building real relationships.
It's about building trust, fostering cooperation, and finding common ground on issues that transcend national borders.
Finding solutions that work for everyone.
It's about representing America with grace, intelligence, and a commitment to finding solutions that benefit not just the United States, but the global community as a whole.
Representing America in a positive light.
So what are some of the key issues she's been focusing on in these diplomatic engagements? What are the main challenges and opportunities she's encountered on the world stage?
Well, her portfolio has been quite diverse, reflecting the multifaceted nature of American foreign policy in the 21st century.
Okay.
She's been involved in strengthening alliances with traditional partners in Europe and Asia,
Our traditional allies?
while also engaging with emerging powers in Africa and Latin America.
So reaching out to new partners.
It's about recognizing that the world is becoming increasingly interconnected.
It is. We're all connected.
And that American interests are best served by building strong relationships with a diverse range of countries, not just our traditional allies.
It's about building bridges, not walls.
Exactly.
And she's not shying away from tough issues.
Okay.
She's been a vocal advocate for strengthening democracy and human rights globally,
Human rights, that's important.
pushing back against authoritarianism and defending the values that underpin a free and open society.
Standing up for what's right.
It's about using American influence to promote positive change in the world,
Making a difference.
to support those who are striving for freedom and justice, and to stand up to those who would undermine those values.
Being a force for good in the world.
Her role in coordinating international aid and support for Ukraine in the wake of the Russian invasion has been widely praised.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Demonstrating her commitment to standing with those who are fighting for their freedom and sovereignty.
Supporting democracy.
She's also been deeply involved in efforts to address global challenges like climate change and pandemics,
Those are global issues.
recognizing that these issues require international cooperation and a coordinated global response.
We need to work together.
It's a reminder that we're all interconnected,
We are.
that the challenges we face transcend national borders, and that our collective well-being depends on our ability to work together to find solutions.
We're all in this together.
And her efforts to build partnerships with countries in Latin America and the Caribbean,
Okay.
addressing issues like migration and economic development, have also been noteworthy.
So working with our neighbors.
It's about recognizing the importance of our neighbors to the south, building bridges of understanding and cooperation and working together to address shared challenges.
It's about building relationships.
It's about recognizing that diplomacy is not just about dealing with crises or high-profile summits,
It's an ongoing process.
and also about fostering cooperation and understanding on a day-to-day basis.
The little things matter.
It's about building relationships, finding common ground, and working together to create a more peaceful, prosperous, and just world.
That's the goal.
Well said.
Thanks.
Now, for number 4 on our countdown, we turn to an issue that's deeply personal for many Americans: healthcare.
Healthcare is always a big issue.
It's a topic that evokes strong emotions as it directly impacts our well-being, our families, and our sense of security.
It's about our health.
It's a perennial debate in American politics. How do we ensure that everyone has access to quality, affordable health care?
That's the million-dollar question.
It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
For sure.
But one that Vice President Harris has been deeply engaged in.
She's passionate about it.
She's brought a a personal passion to this issue, drawing on her own experiences and her commitment to social justice to advocate for policies and initiatives aimed at improving the healthcare system and expanding access to care.
So she's trying to make a difference.
So what are some of the specific accomplishments she's been involved in? What are the key areas she's focused on within the vast and complex world of healthcare policy?
Well, one of her key focuses has been on expanding access to affordable health insurance.
Okay, making sure people can afford to see a doctor.
She played a significant role in promoting enrollment in the Affordable Care Act, often referred to as Obamacare.
Right.
And she's been a vocal advocate for strengthening and expanding the program.
So she's a big supporter of Obamacare.
She believes that everyone should have access to quality, affordable health care, regardless of their income or employment status.
Healthcare for all.
It's about creating a safety net for those who might otherwise fall through the cracks.
Making sure no one is left behind.
Ensuring that everyone has access to the care they need when they need it.
That's the goal.
And she's been a champion for lowering prescription drug prices.
Drug prices are a big issue.
Particularly for seniors who often struggle with the high cost of medications.
Seniors are on a fixed income.
Remember the Inflation Reduction Act we discussed earlier?
I do.
That included provisions allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices, a long-sought goal for many healthcare advocates.
That was a big win.
It was a major victory for seniors and for those who believe that no one should have to choose between their health and their financial well-being.
No one should have to choose between their health and their wallet.
It's about bringing fairness and transparency to the pharmaceutical industry.
Holding big pharma accountable.
Ensuring that people have access to the medications they need at a price they can afford.
It's about making healthcare affordable.
And she's been a strong supporter of efforts to address the maternal health crisis.
Maternal health is important.
Particularly the racial disparities in maternal mortality rates.
Yeah, it's a serious issue.
It's a shocking statistic.
It is.
Black mothers are far more likely to die from pregnancy-related complications than their white counterparts, even when controlling for income and education levels.
That's not right.
It's a systemic issue that reflects deep-seated inequities in our healthcare system, and it's something that Vice President Harris has been vocal about addressing.
So she's trying to fix the system.
She's pushed for increased funding for maternal health care, supported policies aimed at reducing implicit bias in the healthcare system, and spoken out about the need to improve the quality of care for women of color.
Making sure everyone gets the same quality of care.
It's about recognizing that healthcare is not just about treating illnesses.
It's about more than just going to the doctor.
It's about addressing the social determinants of health, the factors that influence our well-being beyond just access to doctors and hospitals.
The things that affect our health outside of the healthcare system.
It's about creating a healthcare system that is truly equitable and just.
A system that works for everyone.
One that serves the needs of all Americans, regardless of race, ethnicity, or socioeconomic status.
That's the goal.
Now, moving on to number 3 on our countdown, we delve into a topic that's often contentious but undeniably important.
This should be interesting.
Climate change and energy policy.
Climate change, the big one.
It's an issue that has divided our nation for decades.
It has.
With some denying the science of climate change.
Climate deniers.
While others call for urgent action to address this existential threat.
It's a serious issue.
It's a challenge that requires both a recognition of the scientific consensus on climate change and a willingness to implement bold policies to mitigate its effects and transition to a more sustainable future.
So we need to acknowledge the problem and take action.
And the Biden-Harris administration has made this a top priority.
They're taking it seriously.
Setting ambitious goals for reducing greenhouse gas emissions and transitioning to a clean energy economy.
So they're trying to make a difference.
Vice President Harris, as we all know, became the first woman, the first Black person, and the first South Asian American to hold the office of Vice President of the United States.
It was a moment felt around the world. A symbol of hope and progress, truly a testament to how American leadership is changing. Her election broke down so many barriers and opened doors for countless others who, for the first time, saw themselves represented in the highest levels of government.
And for many, it was more than just symbolic. Her presence in the White House was a real sign of change, evidence that America was evolving and becoming more inclusive. finally recognizing the contributions of those who had been marginalized for so long.
It's that feeling of seeing yourself in those positions of power, knowing you can achieve great things too, that your voice matters. It's the power of possibility, of change, and the hope for a more just and equitable society for everyone.
And Vice President Harris has definitely used her platform to speak up for those who haven't always had a seat at the table. She's been vocal about things like racial injustice and economic inequality, those systemic barriers that hold so many Americans back from reaching their full potential. She's brought such a crucial perspective to these discussions, making sure the voices and experiences of these diverse communities are part of the conversation.
It's about recognizing that policies shouldn't just be made by the elite or the privileged. They should reflect the real lives of all Americans. Because diversity makes us stronger. Our differences are what make us strong, and when we all work together, imagine what we can achieve.
Her impact on the administration is clear. We've seen so many women and people of color appointed to important roles, reflecting a true dedication to diversity, not just visually, but in terms of the ideas and lived experiences that shape decisions. This kind of representation actually changes the conversation, influences what gets decided, and ultimately creates a more inclusive and fair government.
It's a great example of how representation really matters. It's not just about appearances, but about who's shaping the policies that affect our lives. When our leaders come from different backgrounds, when they've lived different experiences, it leads to more informed and effective policies that help everyone.
Couldn't agree more.
Now, before we wrap up our look at Vice President Harris's achievements, let's go back to that little mystery we brought up earlier.
Yes, the border situation. It seems fitting to end our dive with a bit of a head-scratcher, just to refresh everyone's memory. Despite her focus on immigration issues and the criticism she's received, Vice President Harris has never officially visited the U.S.-Mexico border.
It's a curious detail that seems to contradict the amount of attention and debate swirling around border policy and immigration. It definitely raises questions about her involvement in tackling this complex issue.
Some people think it's a strategic move, a way to avoid becoming a target for political attacks. It could allow her to focus more on behind-the-scenes diplomacy and policy work.
That's interesting. Others suggest it's a way of acknowledging that her role isn't to be out there enforcing border rules, but to really address the root causes of migration by working with Central American countries, to improve their economies and address those factors that force people to leave their homes searching for a better life.
Whatever the reasoning behind it, it's a reminder that leadership often means tough choices, navigating complicated political situations, and prioritizing long-term strategies over symbolic actions.
Absolutely. As always, we encourage all of our curious viewers to keep this conversation going. What are your thoughts on this? Any theories or insights you'd like to share? Let us know in the comments. We love hearing from you and learning from your perspectives.
And remember to subscribe to the Daniel David Allen channel for more RoboCast episodes. We dive deep into all sorts of topics that will spark your curiosity, get you thinking, and maybe even change your view of the world.
We've got more mysteries to uncover, more questions to ask, more knowledge to share. Stay curious, keep learning, and join us next time for another adventure into the unknown.